Hey guys, Dylan at Noble Records coming at you with another video. Gonna do real heavy, crazy, heavy rotations video. Excited about it. Got a massive stack. One of my bigger stacks for heavy rotations. So this might be a long video. So go use the toilets. You know, pack your snacks, whatever you got to do. This is going to be a long one. I've broken it down into genres. I got like rock first, some really cool rock records, record store day releases that I got, some like funk, soul, disco, grooving stuff, and then we're going to talk about library music. And I know what you're thinking when I say library music. If you're not familiar, you're probably thinking of just this angry librarian with glasses with the beads hanging off. She's like, why the library? Where's your library card? That's not what library music is. Library music is like the most exciting, fascinating thing to me. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So, got a lot of cool records here. Like I said, a couple real heavy ones at the top I've been looking for a really long time. And I mean, like, if you look at my want list on Discogs, these were at this was the oldest record I had on there. The very first listing of oldest one I had. And this is a record called Zior. This is a first UK pressing. This is the label on it. Super cool. But this is some it's from the UK. It's a UK press. I'll show you the gatefold on this bad boy. She's beautiful. I never thought I'd own one of these. It's one of those records that just unreal. I've never even seen one before. But it's completely unreal that I have one. It's one that when I first started getting back into collecting records again, like really hardcore, getting into some deeper stuff, I found this on YouTube and streamed it, and I was like, holy moly. So it took me years to get an original, or to get a reissue, and now this original popped up, and it was a very reasonable price, and I just couldn't turn it down. And so this is really killer hard rock, that sludge hard rock kind of Black Sabbath influence type of sound. This is that same thing. They kind of played off the whole occult thing, kind of like Black Sabbath did. Very similar in that way, but the music's different. But very good. Leaning a little bit one foot in the Prague territory, but it's definitely really good hard rock. Zior, incredible stuff. This is one of those hard rock records that are just, you never see them, and you know, for it to make it all the way to me here in North Carolina is a special thing. But fantastic record. I cannot say enough good things about it. Thankfully, there's been a lot of reissues now, and the reissues are like super easy to get. So would encourage you grabbing a reissue if you can. And I've been like really working hard on my Find This Record Instagram. I don't mean to shout it out every time I get a chance, but for years and years I posted like stuff on my Noble Records, because Noble Records didn't used to be much of a business. It was just like my record page that I would post my collection stuff, and then it turned into what it is now, and I have a store and all that stuff. So now, like, there's a lot of people locally that follow me, and if I post like personal posts, they're like, what is this? Is this for sale? You know, so I started posting things on Find This Record, but I started like this week, I've been posting every single day, just rare records for my collection and what they sound like and stuff like that. So check that out if you're into it. This next one is another one I never thought I'd have. This is a band called Orange Wedge. No one left but me. I often just refer to this band as Wedge because I don't know why it doesn't say Orange Wedge, but it just doesn't. This is an original first press. And the jacket's a little bit rough, but it's not bad. I mean, there's not even any seam splits or anything. It's just a little discolored. It would probably clean up a little bit, but discs in killer shape. But this is another one, really solid hard rock out of Maryland, Baltimore, I believe, and just really solid stuff. I've been looking for one for ages. Had a reissue, obviously, and just this thing came along. Like killer stuff. Orange Wedge. This is a cool one. A friend of mine brought it in the shop. I didn't know much about this, but this is Australian prog. REL Strange, Fantastic Dream. That cover immediately, if you've got a clown in your album cover, I'm not going to listen to it. Immediately, I'm turned off. Immediately. So I just had no desire to listen to this. It didn't look good to me. And so I had it for a while. My friend's like, I think you should really listen to this. I think you'd really like it. And I was like, I don't know, man, it's got a clown on the cover. So a couple of weeks went by and I did end up listening to it, and it's actually really good. Really good prog, got some, juicy licks and stuff on there. So it's a cool find. Very unfortunate about the album cover. I'm thinking about dipping this side of it in water just so I can water damage that part off, and maybe I'll like it a little bit better. But anyways, I'm joking. I would never do that. Let's see here. The Angry Young Vim. This is an original UK mono pressing of this. I found this. I was digging in a private collection maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Found this, and I had a reissue of it, but I needed an original. This is obviously, if you don't know Van Morrison, that's him right there. This is his garage band before he went solo, and it's very, very good garage rock. I can't say enough good things about this. This is you should all their records are a little bit different. They progress in a really interesting way, but this record is just a really good, I think, essential early garage record. You got to find that. The Angry Young Vim. Sweet stuff. So I bought a few records. I'll go ahead and just show them all, even though one of them I was going to have in the funk soul category. I bought a few records from a guy on eBay, and in his listing, he said these belong to a very famous person. That, I don't care. Famous people, they put their pants on the same way I do. Whatever the expression is. But he said he was bought an estate from a very prestigious, famous family, and he was selling the records. So I bought these records. I bought them because they were good. I didn't pay any more than I normally would. I'm just letting you know. After I bought them, I sent him a message on eBay. I was like, now that I've already bought them, can you just tell me who it was? And he did tell me who it was, and they are very famous, but I don't care. They're not a famous musician. He made me promise I wouldn't tell anybody. They're historically famous, but I literally don't care. Anyways, so all that build up for absolutely nothing. I'm sorry. This is Dennis Coffey Trio, Hair and Things. So I bought a reissue of this. I got it and I was digging that garage a couple months ago, and I found a reissue of it. And I was like, I think I said in the clip, I'll never find an original. Well, here it is. I started looking for an original, and one just kind of fell in my lap. Got this for a really good deal. These usually go for a lot. I got it for much less than it normally goes for. This is on Maverick Records. And this is just I know if you've heard of Dennis Coffey, fantastic session player. He had his own records as well. Played on a lot of Stack stuff. Really good, funky guitar playing. This is funkier than normal. Okay? This is so good. When it comes to funk, funk rock type, this is as good as it gets for me. I mean, this is really, really, really strong. Very, very good. I highly encourage you to check this record out if you get a chance. But yeah, so it's an original press. Sounds great. I'm so excited to have this in my collection. And I'll get the other two I got from him, which is weird, but it is what it is. This one, Tin House. This is a hard rock record. It's on Epic Records, and it's not expensive and it's not rare. When I say not expensive, it might be $40. I don't know. I got a good deal on it, but it's on that yellow Epic label. But it's just really good early hard rock. There's reissues of it. I mean, I say early hard rock, early 70s anyways. But I had an original, I had a reissue, and just kind of thing, when an original comes along, I'll grab it. It had this as a really, really good deal because I kind of lumped them together and made a package deal. And this was one of them. So that's very good hard rock. When you hear it, you're like, man, this sounds like it will be more expensive than it is. So that's a good place to be. Don't know why this is kind of off the beaten path, but this is Dead Kennedys, Frankenchrist. I had I've been getting some Dead Kennedy stuff. It's got this inner, but it doesn't have the poster. So there's like a poster, highly banned, controversial. They got sued over it, I think. But yeah, so it's Dead Kennedy stuff. You guys know I'm looking for my punk stuff. A friend of mine comes in the shop all the time. He buys little collections here and there. And like 2 or 3 years ago, he bought this collection and he brought this record to me. And he's like, this record's worth $600. And I'm like, no, it's not. I've never heard of that record. And I did research, and there's one guy on Discogs asking $620 for this record. This is Hummingbird Recordings presents Brevard Area Artists. And it's got like a bunch of bands on it no one's ever heard of. I've never heard of any of them. None of them have ever like really went anywhere, except for one. There's a band on here called Attica, which is a metal band. That's them right there. And they did some records. They still tour. They're not like super famous. You know, their records aren't worth a ton of money. But this is the first recording that they ever had. And so the guy on the Discogs listing is, the one's never sold. Only like 3 people have it on Discogs. It's one of those things that's very rare, but I don't know that equates to it being valuable. Anyways, but it's a cool record. There's a lot of Space Coast, Florida metal-ish bands from 1986 playing. It's a compilation of like hard rock metal stuff from that area, from that time, on this label. So this label they only released a couple records and singles and stuff. They never did much. But it's all pretty interesting. All the songs have a little bit of edge to it. And Attica was on there. Their song is definitely the standout. It's pretty good. There's some finger tapping, guitar licks and stuff. It's good. I mean, but it's that like thrashy metal type stuff. If you go on my Find This Record, I did record clips of it. So anyways, it is kind of interesting. If you know anything about this record, please let me know. I don't think it's worth $620. And this is what I told him, because he brought it back to the shop. Okay, I'll pick up the story. He brought it back to the shop, and he's like, man, I don't know what to do with this thing. I don't want to sell on Discogs. This guy's got it out there for that much. And I said, listen, if it was worth $620, it's been on there for 2 years on Discogs. He still hasn't sold it. So if it was worth that much, somebody would have bought it. It's not worth that much. So I have no clue what this is worth. It's never been sold. No idea. He gave it to me at what I think is a very good deal. I did not pay triple digits for this thing. I paid much less than triple digits for this thing, but he just was like, I made money on the collection anyways. I'll let it go if you'll enjoy it. And I will enjoy it. It's pretty cool record. So anyways, that's just kind of a weird record. Record store day stuff. Let's get on it. So my friend Kendall, shout out Kendall if you're watching this. He went to some record stores and went around, and he asked me if I wanted anything. So I asked him to pick me up a few things, and he did. First is this Fear record, pressed on multicolor vinyl. And I actually didn't even know that it had this Christmas single in here. I haven't opened it up and listened to it yet. I guess I probably should have done that. But this is a record I've just been meaning to get. I had an original about a year ago, and I sold it in the shop. And I really should have kept it. But really great punk record. Really love Fear. The other one is Allman Brothers Band, The Final Note. I didn't know anything about this. I just knew that, number one, it was Duane Allman's last show. And number two, I saw the cover and it looks cool. So, and it's Allman Brothers, and I try to get everything I can. And it's his last show, so I figured I wanted it. And Kendall's waiting in line, and he's like, hey man, he texted me, he's like, I heard this is like a really bad recording. Do you still want it? I'm like, yeah, it's a bootleg. Bootlegs are always bad. Some soundboards are good, but a lot of audience recordings, you can kind of train your ear to get used to it and enjoy it. But this had a ton of people. I posted a picture of it or a video, a clip of it on Instagram, and they were like, how do you like it? Is it good? For an audience recording, it's typical. It's a typical audience recording. You hear people burping and farting in the background. It's like normal audience recording. It's muffled. It's not great, but you can still, if you really want to hear the music, you can appreciate it, and it's still, I think, a reasonably enjoyable. But listen, if you're expecting Fillmore East, you're going to be totally disappointed. It's not to that level. It's not that good of quality, but it's just kind of cool. historical recording. That's his last one. And I'm a Dwayne Allman completist and fanatic. So there we go. This is the one I was most excited about. This is the alternate Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young Deja Vu. And I will say this is the one that I am most enjoyed. This is incredible. And I just watched Bob Bradley's video. And he's great. If you don't follow him. He's great. But he was talking about this record. And he was saying that you definitely kind of get why they didn't release this and they released the other one, but it's an interesting take. It is like, that's very spot on. I can't say I like this more than the original. I can't say I don't. I mean, there's some like really juicy guitar licks on here. I understand, like, from a commercial standpoint, the other ones are more well constructed and these are more like demos. I get that. There's such a purity in it. It's so good. If you like this record and you've heard it a million times and you want to hear it in a different way, these are widely available. A lot of record stores had extras of them. Get one. Really good stuff. And then a really nice guy. I didn't catch his name. If you watch this channel, man, this really meant the world to me, because this record I wanted, this Pearl Jam one, but my friend Kendall, he had already, I'd already asked him for 3 records, and I was like, I don't want to over, ask for more. And I wanted this Pearl Jam Alive, and I didn't know much about it, but it was kind of on my radar, and I was like, whatever. I'll get it eventually. And I didn't ask him for it. And then afterwards, I was kicking myself. I was like, man, I should ask him for it. This kid comes up. He's like, hey, man, I was at this other record store, like right when we opened. He came in. He said, I was at another record store, and I knew you like Pearl Jam. I saw this, and something just told me to grab it for you. So he just grabbed it for me and gave it to me as a gift. And that really meant the world to me. That was very, very thoughtful. I'm excited to listen to it. So those are my record store day pickups. Gosh, we got to get this thing moving. Gosh, this is going to be a long one. There's not much I can do about that. Rim arrives. Now we're venturing into the funk soul type stuff. So Rim Quack Obeng is his name. Really cool percussionist. This is like disco. No, I shouldn't say disco, but this is like boogie funk soul type. It's more funky than anything, but it's got Afrobeat elements. It's got some like that disco boogie type element to it as well. Very cool record. He has another one that's also very good. But this is a very interesting guy. Really great percussionist. And I got this in original press. I've had this for a while. I actually don't know that I might have mentioned this already, but I got this from my buddy. That's he has that garage full of records that I dug out a while back. He's been bringing me some stuff to the shop, like this one, Eddie Grant, Hello Africa. This is Eddie Grant, the Electric Avenue Eddie Grant. Same guy. This is him before all that. Very good. This is his solo record. So he did some stuff before this, but he formed this Ice Records. It's distributed by PYE. I guess it's a subsidiary, but Ice Records was his label. And this is his like debut solo. Very good. It's like a calypso, reggae, soca feel to it, but it also has that late 70s disco funk type feel to it as well. Some killer tracks on this thing. I actually found this over there at his house, and I was like, and he's like, oh, dude, you got to get that. And I'm like, it's Eddie Grant. I mean, it's radio reggae. Like, it's very... I just don't like... I don't hate it. It's just not something... And I looked up how much it was going for, and I was like, I'm not going to give you much for this. This is Eddie. He's like, listen, go home and listen to it, and I'll hold it for you, and you're going to want it. And I went and listened to it, and I was like, crap, I need that. It's really good. So check that out. Eddie Grant, Hello Africa. In the UK, he just... he put it out. It's just Eddie Grant. So that Hello Africa's not there, but it's the same record. Oh man, this one is another one I found over there, and I wanted it really bad. And he's like, I gotta rip it. So he like rips them onto his hard drive before he sells them. Some of them that he really needs to. So this one was one of those, and he ended up bringing it to me. This is Julius Brockington, the United Chair. I mean, just look at the cover, how abstract it looks. Very, very cool. Soul jazz funk fusion type record. very funky. It's got really good like wah wah guitars in it, real funky bass lines, some solid stuff on here. What's that song? 49 Reasons was hip. It was a lot of hip hop samples there, but really good record. I highly recommend you listen to this. Very funky, soul jazzy, really out of this world record. Very good. This is one. It's weird how I got this record. It was on my radar. I knew about it because of the name of the group. Okay, the name of the group is the 13th Floor. They're on Blue Candle Records. So a little tip: if you ever see a label that's Blue Candle, buy it. It's going to be good. But it's a funk soul type label. Very good stuff. But I was buying some Led Zeppelin stuff from somebody, and they had this as well. And I knew about it because I was at the 13th floor, and obviously 13th floor elevators. It had caught my attention before since it was funk and soul. It's called Steppin' Out. And I had listened to it in the past and thought, man, that's funky. That's killer. And so he had this stuff too with the Zeppelin stuff. So I bought this as well. And this is just really, really, really killer funk. This is the 1977 funk disco. You know, we've heard all our lives, at least like us here in the South have heard a lot in our lives that disco's terrible. It's the worst thing that ever happened to music. There is such a good era of disco, and it's not the, you know, it's not that, okay? There's like this 1977 funk disco that is just like killer stuff. It's totally different, okay? It's not Kiss. Kiss did a disco album. That's not what I'm talking about. That sucks. You're right. But that is not. Prophets of Soul, Gregory James edition. This is a really cool record, real funky. The standout on this is they did a instrumental cover of Ain't No Sunshine, and it is amazing. Really cool approach to it. Very good stuff. I'm blazing through these because I'm running along. This is Wagonda Kenya. This is a Afrobeat funk record from Colombia. So it's got both a Colombian feel with like some Latin like percussion and stuff like that, and Afrobeat tied in together. It's confusing when you hear it because it's like, okay, it blends them both together in a way that it's just like a hybrid. It's cool. It's really cool. But really cool record, Wagonda Kenya. Check that out. That's an original Colombian press. Oh man, this has got such a good story behind it. So this is the Soul Messengers. This is a killer. When I first found it, I was like, I thought that it was a gimmick, that the that Hebrew writing was a gimmick. It's not. So long story behind this group. We'll make a long story short. In the late 60s, there was a movement in the U.S., and it was of African Americans that were tracing their ancestry back to Israel. And so it was there was a whole movement, and there was these groups of these African Americans that were practicing like Jewish practices and stuff. So out of this group, there was this band of guys kind of came out of this group, and they went to Israel, and they decided to form a band, the Soul Messengers. As they went around, they were trying to go from country to country. When they did, they kind of ran into some trouble with customs, and a couple of them got deported back to the U.S. And the main guy kind of stuck around in Israel. He got really invested in the community there. Eventually, like, and this thing is 1974, 1975, something like that. The other two members were able to come back to Israel and get in with him to form this band. They traveled around Israel and like Middle East and even like Europe and stuff, and were just teaching people like their soul roots and funk from I think they're from Detroit. And so like they had this rich history where they grew up in America with just listening to all this funk and soul and stuff, and seeing the beginning of that movement, and then bringing it back when they realized their roots from where they came from and their ancestry, and kind of blending those two worlds together is really, really interesting, really cool. So they traveled around. They're able to make a living. They put out 3 records. They're able to make a living as they toured, and they were also introducing a lot of the people in the area to funk and soul that they'd never heard of before. So very cool backstory. That's it in a nutshell. That reminds me, there is a guy, I follow him on Instagram. He has a YouTube channel, and his videos are so good. And he doesn't have a huge following or anything, and I don't know why. But the name of his channel is Dirty Dusty Records. And you gotta check it out if you like the type of stuff that I recommend. He knows way more than I do about like funk and soul and stuff like that. He also does videos on each thing. So he just did a video on like Jewish music and it's just super interesting stuff. But he does it about different cultures. He has people on, interviews people. He's very, very good at it. He's very knowledgeable. I would highly suggest that you follow him. So check him out. All right, so we're gonna go just a little bit into the library record land. So this is gonna go over 30 minutes because, and I don't care. On my heavy rotations videos, I'm getting much less views than I used to. I don't know if that means they're not interesting. I guess the people that don't watch anymore will never give me any feedback about this because they're not watching. But so I bought this book a while back. This is called Unusual Sounds. I had heard a lot of like heavier, deeper collectors talk about library records. I knew about them. I knew the general concept, but I didn't know much about like what to look for, where to find them, what they were. And so I've been reading this book. I heard about this book, picked it up, been reading it. If you're wanting to get into library records, it is a must. It's called Unusual Sounds. And it is really cool, but it kind of shows you like what some of the covers look like. It breaks it down between like each country and labels and stuff. So to give you a brief idea of what library records are. So back in I guess it was probably back from the late 50s, early 60s, films and radio and all this stuff, they were trying to get like instrumental music. Some of them would have to pay to get people to compose music just for their show. And that was just expensive. It was timely. It was costly, all that stuff. And so all these labels started popping up that were financing these library records. So what you would do is you would say, hey, I have this radio show. It needs to be funky. The music, I want it to be this way or I want it to be that way. And so they would go to this label and they would sign a contract for that specific sound, and they would be able to have access to those tapes. Now, the library records themselves were never meant to be sold to the general public. They were just kind of like sample records to send out to these radio stations and TV stations and all that stuff so they could listen to them, decide which ones they want, and they would get that cut of a real tape from the label. So anyways, so these are all super hard to get and very rare because they were not ever meant to be sold. And so this is one. It's called Soul Impressions. This is the first one I ever got. I was digging and I found it and I was like, that's gonna be good. I mean, I bought it immediately. This was probably like 4 months ago, and it was phenomenal. Blew my mind. So this is by a composer named Janko Nilovic. And he is one of the better composers to library music. Any of his, I would pick up. Very, very, very good stuff. He is a phenomenal composer and musician, and he's still doing it. I think he just put out a record. So very, very cool. And that's an original press of that. I just got this weekend. This is Pop Shopping, Janko. It is really, really, really good. And so I'm separating them a little bit by labels. So another label to kind of look for is this KPM label. And they all have the exact same cover. So even though they have the same cover, they're not the same. So if you turn them over, you have like this one is Afro Rock. This is amazing, amazing stuff. That one is Rock On. It's rock and roll. That one is Jazz Graphics and the Spy Set. So the Spy Set's more like 007 type music. This one's not worth as much. They're worth different amounts based on how good they are, really, honestly. And this is Contempo. So those are pretty good ones. Let's see, that one's on a different label. So Music Day Wolf is another label that it's pretty good. Some of them are, you know, speaking from a investment standpoint, some of them are cheaper, some of them are more expensive. This one's a really cool one. It's called Prototype. But you got this one, Pop Art Modern Groups featuring the synthesizer. But that's a really cool cover. Some library records don't have cool covers. Some of them have really cool covers. A lot of Music Day Wolves have cool covers like this one, Hard Hitter. This one, if you look that one up, this one's a more sought after one, but very, very good, funky library record. This one, Ocarina Plus. It's got like a spaceship and a church. It's kind of like, what? So this program music, these are usually pretty cheap. You can pick up for like $10, a lot of them. But that's Lucky Numbers. Take Your Pick. This one's a little bit better. Worth a little bit more. Faces of Funk. That's a cool one. This is a killer label. This Taylor Music. Almost all these are good. This one's kind of okay, but this Continental Pop sound is freaking amazing. Great stuff. Vibrations is another killer one. I've got some more, man. I'm missing some. But anyways, this Brute Music's a killer one too. So I bought like a bunch of library records for my friend, and been super stoked on them, learning a lot about them, talking about them constantly, boring the crap out of all my friends, because that's like all I want to talk about. So it's very interesting history. I've been reading a lot about them in that book and just kind of digging my teeth into that. So thank y'all so much for watching this video. I know it has taken a long time. Thanks for hanging in there, and we will see you next time.